Welcome to Master the Game. I am Juce. This is Paula, and we are a vast wealth of knowledge on these videos. So let's get started.
But are we though? Are we really?
Sometimes. So today's word is vast, and so I'm going to go with my world building stuff because I like to talk about my world building stuff.
No, really?
I do.
Do you?
I do.
I didn't notice.
So
I wasn't sure.
I want my world to be very vast. I want it to be huge. Huge. So the stuff that I've planned, and I've talked about this before, is about 1/6 of my world size. So like the stuff you've seen from like way down here, all the way up. This must be a new one.
That fucking cricket! It's a new cricket. We just got rid of the cricket, and now there's like another fucking cricket.
They're like coming up under the door or something.
What's going on? It's like this infestation. It's
crickets
like a
outside?
plague.
It's because we have a garden.
The goddamn plague.
It's because of the garden. If we didn't have that garden, there wouldn't be a bunch of them out there.
There's no plants outside that door.
No, but our whole freaking side of our house, from here all the way to the corner, is like flowers and bushes and vegetables.
Okay, so
anyways,
like I planted
it's a vast garden.
I planted like one squash plant, and it's like
huge.
It is easily like
2
10,
sides.
15 feet long.
Yeah.
Like no problem.
Yeah, we're getting like
it's
2 or 3
growing.
a day.
It's growing over the sidewalk. Oh no. The one that's growing on the sidewalk is my butternut squash plant. We haven't even picked anything from that yet.
Oh, okay.
I have 2 butternut squash that are like that big, and they're still completely
That's
green.
crazy.
So they're going to be like...
We're just going to let the cricket have his role in this.
Giant.
Anyway. So I want to have a huge world. But the problem I'm running into is I don't want everything to be cliche, and then I don't want it to seem like everything I'm doing is like going against trope just to go against trope. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm trying to find that balance with my world, and that's what I'm struggling with. And I'm a fan of like Galarian. I like Forgotten Realms, or Faerun. I like a lot of other fantasy settings. But again, I don't want to rip anything like that off. So it's just something I'm struggling with. However, I also want the size of the world to come across in play.
Yeah.
And it's an old world. Like, my world goes through thousands of years.
I think the thing is to not... Like, it's really great to have a general idea of what you want to do in different areas, sort of dedicated to different things. But in my personal experience, I think it's better to really define those areas once you get there.
Oh, 100%.
Because there could be something really interesting happening. Like, if your game starts to go into something political, then you could make up some sort of, like, interesting, like, political intrigue in that area. And if you had already defined that area too much, those ideas might not have come to you. So you're sort of limiting yourself if your areas are too well defined.
Oh, yeah.
But you also want some kind of structure to them. And you also, I don't think it's bad to necessarily have things be spread out. Like, if you're talking about if your world is huge, you don't have to have, like, a dwarven settlement, an elven settlement, a halfling settlement all in the same continent. Like, they could be really spread out. And it could be that, like, there are no halflings in this area, so if you are a halfling character, it just makes you more unique, right?
Right.
So I think sometimes that's the struggle too, is because you want the players to find out more about your world, and so your tendency is to sort of like cram everything into a small area. But really, you kind of got to back it up and say, well, what is more logical and what is more rational if this was an actual space?
Yeah.
And so that makes it difficult because you want to get them involved in the world so they get attached to it, but you also want to make it seem real. And so if you try and cram too much in a small area, I think then it comes across like you're really trying too hard.
Oh yeah, no, and
You
most
know?
of my world is defined by the one-shots I've run or campaigns I've run and things like that. Like, we defined that Pine Run area in our game. I had nothing planned based off of that mine. I had a town, a mine, and another local town. That was it, and then I ran with it and expanded based on that game what was known around that area. But there's like towns on the outer coast there that all I did was come up with names at that point. Had no idea about any of them. And that, for the most part, are still like that.
Yeah.
You know? And then I have, like, that continent down below, which I've run multiple one-shots in, which has, like, I told you, like, that Great Wall and things like that. And it has, like, a bunch of orc establishments and the elves and the pirate area and all that stuff. That's defined based on doing that world-building thing the one time and then doing a couple one-shots. Mm-hmm. Then I have... when we played the game with your brother and them, and then the next when we played with like Matt and them, where you guys were in the ship traveling around the glass coast and everything. That game really helped define the exteriors of that continent. So that's all like kind of close, except there's a patch in that area where I had that terrible name for the bog place. So that area is kind of in there, but then there's a bunch of stuff where it's right now nothing. I haven't planned anything. So there's a lot, and that's only 1/6 of my world. And I have a little bit above where the...
So maybe you're planning, like, cramming too much stuff in there.
Oh, no, it's vast, even that area.
Oh, okay.
There's, like, stuff in between that's empty, like, completely empty in a big area. And then even the top, like, where it's, if you think, like, up by the North Pole kind of thing, where it's cold and stuff, I've only came up with 2 establishments there. But that's a pretty big area, and that was based on a one-shot.
Oh, okay.
So I've got a lot of open space in these areas that isn't defined yet, too. But yeah, like, and then like we've talked about adding the islands of Thakos over there. So that's another very small portion of this big world. Mm-hmm. And that's all I've got planned right now for my world. I'd like to add more later on, but I also want to write about it. I want to eventually turn this into a product that I can release as a PDF. And I thought about releasing it in small chunks. Like, the Pine Run area, release that as its own PDF. And I can put the information in there, adventure hooks, include the module of what I ran you guys through with the mines, and then later on the Temple of the Elements. Mm-hmm. And put those in there. So I would love to do something like that. Yeah, I think that would be cool. And then just release mini products like that. And then once I get enough, maybe I release it as my world, as like one big thing. I don't know. That's just what I was thinking.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. And I've got people who've been interested before. Like in my Anvil Ringer stuff, people were really interested in that, which inspired me to write a couple pages about that. I just never, did anything with it. But like I've got the rules of the order and things like that. I've got a rival organization, so... Yeah, what about you? What does vast inspire you?
So, vast to me is like, obviously like a large expanse. Like, mm-hmm. I always think of, for some reason, like the ocean.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right? And
maybe 5/6 of my world is all ocean. The Kraken is a very small creature when you get way out there.
Atlantis.
Yeah. Skip that.
So...
I don't need Aquaman coming up in my... Why do you got to bring it back around to Jason Momoa? She would leave me in a heartbeat for Jason Momoa. Not only is he a humanitarian, he's got those killer abs and pecs and tattoos, the long hair, and when he had the beard. Like, oh yeah, she's all on board. That's always her reaction.
So vast.
Yes.
Vast expanse.
Yep.
So I'm thinking like oceans. What I was going to ask you was, have you ever done or been in a campaign that was very heavy on like ocean adventure?
Like Ghost of Saltmarsh.
Like a long campaign. Like, I don't want to talk about just like, hey, one adventure I spent on a ship. Like an entire campaign that's sort of built around like ships, coastal areas, sea. I think there's a lot of...
I was working that into the one campaign. I was trying to get ships
go
in
that
there.
way?
Yeah, I mean, this was, 2 years ago?
So many cool monsters that are in the water, and it's like, I always want to, run a game or be in a game where you just run into those. Like,
you should read Ghost of Saltmarsh.
They're underutilized monsters, and it's like an underutilized concept. And, like, the thing is that some people will go there. I've seen, obviously, like, people go there. I've seen people making these huge ships and, but it's like, I want to know more about their campaign versus just, okay, the ships are cool. Like, legit, the ships are, like, amazing. But I want to know more about their campaign and how they were able to incorporate some of these cooler monsters and what...
Acquisitions Incorporated has some good stuff that would work for that.
Yeah.
So that's not in a module.
What, like, obstacles they run into running a game on a ship? Because that's sort of the reason that I haven't gone into it as a DM is because it's like...
Dude, just watch Pirates of the Caribbean and rip from that.
You run into, like, obstacles, and I'm like, oh, man, I don't know how to handle that situation, so I'm just going to avoid the whole thing. Like, I'm not as comfortable. I'm not that confident of a DM. Like,
that's why you railroad it.
I think I do fine, but, like, I'm not...
She's not a bad railroader. She has a plan, and it almost never makes any sense to deviate from the plan. It's kind of what it comes down to.
Well, okay, but in our group right now, like, a lot of the players are railroad players, so I'm just like, here's your plan. Like, I'm not gonna, like, sugarcoat it.
You tried to leave it open in the city, and it was tough because they're not role players. They're tactical gamers.
That's true.
They're more tactical.
But I just think it would be cool. So I would love to hear stories if... if you have some stories where you spent quite a few levels or did an entire campaign that was basically built around being on a ship, being in the water, being in the open water, like coastal lands all the time.
No.
And I would love to hear about... I'm not talking to you.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking to other people who are listening who are not you.
So comment below.
And not the cricket.
The cricket's the one that's giving you a response.
But I would love to hear too about some of the cool monsters maybe that you ran into, and how they were kind of able to be utilized. Because, like, combat on the high seas, like, that's always like,
which I tried to do too.
How to do it right? I feel like I'm gonna mess it up, but I would love to hear more stories about what people have done, so then I could maybe do it, or maybe you could do it, so then I could play.
Well, I was working towards that, but, like, so I told you I was describing a ship that was not from our plane, remember? And the idea was that, so I gave that ship monsters. It had, like, a variety of things. So it was a pirate ship, but it had, like, a Gith leading it, and it was a Gith ship. And then, so then I had, like, half-orcs, and I had, like, some other stuff on there, where I basically made characters for that. Like, from scratch, like, made, like, player-type characters. And so you guys ran from it and, like, sought cover. So I was like, okay, you clearly don't want to interact. I was like, let's see how these rolls go. Your sorcerer, I think, had, like, gust of wind and some other stuff to help, like mist, like used a fog or something. And anyway, so they were able to get away and hide. I think that was the last session we played, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But, like, they had the ship, and I wanted to incorporate that stuff. But since I've been reading Acquisitions Incorporated, one of the big things, because you're in it, you run a business. That's the idea. So you have a base of headquarters and things like that. And it, like, mentions, like, having a lighthouse with a dock. And one of them says you could have, like, a ship. Because the idea is once you hit, like, that next tier, that your base of operations should be mobile. Somehow mobile. So if you have a ship, maybe you repaired it, now you can travel on it, it's your base of operations. You get people who come in and work for you, so you can have, like, 19 service people there. Like, so you can have all these people running it for you. And the reason it is because eventually you travel to other places. And then eventually you get planar and things like that on there as well. So it'd be cool. And obviously when I got Ghost of Saltmarsh, I was like, I want to incorporate this. I've been wanting to incorporate somewhat of a ship for years, well before that was even announced. Like, remember how excited I was when they announced it like a year and a half ago?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, they're going to bring ship combat. Yes. Like, that was exciting. So, I would love to hear what you guys have done, too. I know Jake from Mini Terrain Domain was talking about his campaign that he's got on his channel, on his Twitch channel, that he then puts up on YouTube. And he was making it sound awesome. Like, he put in, like, his own city of, like, wrecked ships, basically. And it's become like an island of shipwreckage.
Oh, I didn't hear about that.
You went to bed. Oh, you would have been like, oh, that sounds awesome. Yeah, it sounded pretty cool.
I need to watch that.
Yeah, it's got like I'm not gonna give anything away, but it's got like a person in charge of this establishment. It's lawless. There's no weapons allowed. There's a tavern in the center. It's a huge, massive tavern. But it's people from all nations come here, enemies, whatever.
Cool.
All fights have to be settled with your hands. No magic allowed.
Oh, no, I kind of remember.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he was talking about that was like...
Oh, yeah, that's his stream game.
Oh.
Yeah, and
cool.
No magic is allowed. If magic is used, it'll get detected and you will get in a lot of trouble. Like all sorts of cool stuff. It was really cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, so if you haven't checked that out, go check out
Maybe I
Mini
should
Train
go
Domain.
listen to it.
I'll send you the link. I saw them. 2 of the videos were posted this week on YouTube, so I'll send them to you. So anyways, if you want to weigh in on any of these topics, please leave a comment below. Be sure to hammer the like button, smash that subscribe button. This was Master the Game. I am Juice. That is a cricket. This is Paula. Game on.